So at least when you're starting out or getting to a certain level, it's important to consider diversifying your income streams. How can you go from making nothing or even 50,000 a year to making $1 million a year? Well, we'll look at that here. So one key strategy again to achieving multi-millionaire status is diversifying your income streams. Relying on a single source of income, that can be risky, right? So maybe you're working in real estate and there's a downturn like 2008. Or maybe you're working in a business that is very, very vulnerable to the particular shocks. You're working in the hotel business in the middle of winter where there's no summer visitors for the beach, or vice versa. You're working in a winter chalet area and it's the middle of the summer. Or you're working again just in one area. So it's always good to try to think, can you get income from different sources? Because otherwise it leaves you vulnerable to economic downturns or unexpected changes in the market, like in buying and selling cars during certain markets. So by diversifying your income streams, you can ensure a more stable and secure, that's what you want, right, in terms of your financial future. And you can increase your overall earning potential. The key thing here is job stacking. Can you get multiple jobs, right? That you can have one job for a few hours, another job for a few hours, another job for a few hours. That's one of the starts initially when you're just hustle, 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 right? With that chaos hamster wheel kind of idea starting off. If you can do that starting off, great. More power to you. Now, there are various ways to diversify your income streams, including investing in stocks. Not the biggest fan of that. I do think you can get dividend paying stocks, sure, right? They give you some passive income, right? Growth stocks, things like that to a certain extent. You could basically think about, well, if I'm selling stocks, but you really want to think about those in terms of wealth. I think it's the wrong vehicle for income. Real estate, though, that is definitely income, especially rental income producing real estate. Be that commercial, like shopping malls, garages, parking lots, if you're able to rent out the parking lot, things like storage spaces, but especially like apartments or even smaller like single family or studios, things like that as well. So not just multifamily. Also starting a side business. I really advise, I think the great thing, if you can be an entrepreneur, I think that's a great way of thinking about doing it. If you can do a side business. Again, up to you, not financial advice here, but my opinion rather, would be to consider, could you start a side business? That can really be lucrative. Now, each income stream should ideally be independent of the others. Look, if you're teaching at a school and you're also offering tuition at the school, what if that area gets closed down or the area gets hit by bad economic crisis, right? So if you're doing different jobs that are disparate, that are not relying on the same customers, maybe you're doing drop shipping, maybe you're doing something online as well as what you're doing is teaching, right? So things like that, different industries that are independent, ideally, providing you with multiple sources of revenue that can continue to generate income even if one stream dries up. Look, maybe you're a real estate agent by day and you're trying to buy and sell, you're helping people buy homes, you're helping people sell homes, but you also own real estate and you're able to rent it out. Or you're management, you're doing management on the side. Or you've got a license and you can do trade, you can work, helping out electrical work or plumbing work or other work as well. So it's good to have multiple streams. Maybe you're able to do consulting online. Maybe you do YouTube online if you're into real estate. You can do all kinds of things. By diversifying, you can also take advantage of different income opportunities and maximize your earning potential. Finding what works best for you, finding what's the highest earning potential. It could be that you're job stacking, just layering things on top of each other, but eventually you want to find what's the one that you make the most of and that can grow, right? That can eat up all the other ones. Not time, but money. So as you work towards becoming a multimillionaire, it is important to regularly evaluate and to adjust your income streams to ensure that they are still relevant and profitable. Look, I've noticed that in the Airbnb industry that this year has not been as profitable as earlier years. Last year wasn't quite as profitable as the prior year. And I'm noticing that certain rental arbitrage, certain markets, not quite as good as they once were. Maybe it's because now they're moving into more experienced kind of style Airbnbs. Tree houses, I want to live in a tree house. I want to rent, a school bus. I want to rent like a boat house, things like that. It's taken some business away from your average Airbnbs like mine. So over time, industries can move. It could be that now YouTube was hot a few years ago. Hopefully it's still hot, but in a few years it may not be hot, right? Things like that. Things move, things change. So evaluate. Hedge funds were all the rage 20 years ago, for instance. continuously seek out new opportunities to diversify your income and stay ahead of the curve, right? Watch the market. Maybe there's a new hot trend. There's something that you can get into. That's something that people want to learn. A few years ago, it would have been software engineering, teaching computers, right? Something like that. Computer courses online, Udemy. Now with the AI, it's sort of taken over certain things. A few years ago, there was a lot more for copywriting. Still, the copywriting is okay, but AI has kind of eaten into a certain amount of that. Not all of it, but a certain amount of it. So by building a portfolio of diverse income streams, you can create strong financial foundation that will help you achieve your goal of becoming a multi-millionaire.